Real people, real stories, and real challenges that break the status quo. I'm your host, Zivile, and welcome to Perception Paradox. Welcome back to Perception Paradox, where we explore the stories that challenge the status quo and reshape our perspectives. Today, we have a fascinating episode lined up with Dominic Hammann, the founder of Portance, a tech-driven sportswear startup. Dominic, thank you for joining us. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me, Zivile.
You're welcome. It's great to have you here. And I heard you're coming straight from Milan, right? What were you doing there?
Exactly. So I spent the last 4 days at Milan Fashion Week, and I was meeting new potential partners. I was meeting old friends, an old designer friend, which I met actually where we met in Lisbon last year at the Web Summit.
Oh, really? That's
And
great.
so this is how connections happen. So she was part of the it's all Sky Green, and she was part of the format where I met you. I think it's the startup pitch.
Startup
And
pitch showcase, yeah.
exactly, and she was on stage a couple of minutes before me, and then we got to talk. And this is and now I got invited to her fashion show in Milan.
So that's how it all happened. This is so great. So
It's amazing.
basically, going to the pitch events for a startup founder, it can benefit.
Yeah, and she's doing a lot of great stuff. She's also our mindsets when it comes to fashion and when it comes to she's also doing sportswear, and she also believes in the future of sportswear and make it much more smarter and greener. So our
Yeah,
visions are really well aligned, and yeah,
cool. So Portance is kind of aiming to create the future-proof, tech-driven athletic wear, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Were you always in fashion?
No, I'm not a fashionista, how you would call it, maybe.
Fashionista, you can call it,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm from a total different field. So I come from a big corporate. I started my career in a corporate world after studying, business and management. And then it was really clear for me after my master's. Back then, I had a different opinion of life and opinion of a career. So I thought it would be really cool to work in a big corporation in a international trainee or graduate program, and then start your career there. So I applied for all the big training programs of the German DAX companies. I eventually got into one program. It was super fun. It was super exciting at the beginning. I met a lot of really great people. I got the chance to do a lot of cool projects. Yeah, and then like 5, 6 years after, I realized, well, maybe let's stop and pause for a second. Maybe this is not what I really want from life and what I imagine how my life should be.
Okay, that's inspiring. So, what was that pivotal moment that you decided to stop and rethink the direction of your life? Because
Mm.
it seems like you were so strong in your vision and this traditional way of living, corporate career, kind of a bit of a, I don't know, when you raise this career levels and then it's
Exactly.
out of a sudden you're like, oh, maybe it's not what I want. What's happened? How
Yeah.
did that happen to you?
I wouldn't, or maybe I shouldn't use this word, but anyways, I will use it now. I think as a business student or business management student, sometimes you're really brainwashed.
Uh,
A lot of things happen. There's a lot of professors, a lot of lectures from the business world, from the corporate world, telling you how to pursue a career in the business world. And you're inspired by their stories about how well they progressed in the career ladder of a corporate.
Yeah.
So this is what I thought, well, this would be really great. You earn maybe a lot of money, you can afford a lot of nice things. But of course, you also have to work a lot. So you asked for that pivotal moment. While at the beginning, it was really interesting. I learned a lot. I progressed, and my learning curve was really steep. I learned a lot about project management. I learned
In your
a lot
corporate job, right?
exactly in my corporate
Okay.
job. about how to work with people, how to lead maybe small teams, how to do development, how to do big IT projects. But then there came this moment in time when, this, I would say, corporate world presents also a lot of threats to your life because you give so much of your time, so much of your energy, and you also have to be sometimes a shark in order to progress in this world. You have to, I wouldn't say you have to be like a bad person, but sometimes, yeah, the traits of a bad person have to be present, I guess,
You
when you
kind
want
of
to.
have to show some ego and stand for yourself in a
Exactly.
way.
Thanks. That's a very, really good, yeah, formulation of it. Show some
Hmm.
ego, and yeah, don't look back, and maybe not only make friends in order to progress. Yeah.
Do you think ego is your friend or ego is your enemy?
It's both actually, because now I also realize as a founder, you have to be a somebody at certain points in time. You have to be someone, you have to present yourself as somebody, you have to be aware of all the achievements and great things you've done so far. So don't always show yourself as a beggar or someone who wants something. Also be proud of what you have achieved as a founder. So in that case and in that moments, your ego helps you. um,
Hmm.
but then in other circumstances, your ego has to be really small. You have to be thankful for all the people you meet, all the great stuff which are happening with your
Yeah.
partners, collaborators. So
Cool. So when you've realized that, okay, so maybe that's not the direction I want to take, how did you end up in the startup world? Did you just quit everything left behind? You said, bye, corporate, I'm going to startups. Or was it more kind of gradual transition?
yeah, it was definitely the latter. It was a gradual transition. I wasn't brave enough at the beginning to really jump into the cold water. So I woke up one morning and I said, well, okay, so here's what every person and what I can do. So I can continue moaning that I don't like my job anymore, or I don't like the atmosphere in the corporate world anymore. Or I can stop moaning and start doing and acting. And then I decided to act. And so I realized this one morning, okay, what could I do, or what would I want to do in my life? So after selling energy, which is a commodity, nobody, sees energy. Everyone needs it. So it's not a love product. Everyone just needs, it's like a commodity.
Mhm.
So I wanted to do something what you can touch, a love brand, something really cool, something with a lot of impact potential. And then I said, well, I'll do sportswear without knowing anything about the textile industry, without knowing anything about sportswear. The only touch point I had was my um, gym training routine. So I'm going to the gym 5 or 6 times a week, and the gym helped me to be a more self-confident person. And then I said, well, okay, so use my hobby and maybe start creating out of that hobby or interest.
Literally. What should
Yeah,
I do? Oh, maybe sportswear.
exactly.
So, how did your first steps look like?
Yeah, so first I went to my boss. It was a really great guy, and he was American. Anyways, the Americans, they are more, they support you, they push you, and they are really great leaders in my opinion. So he was really open, and he said, well, all right, cool. So what's your plan? So, and then I said, okay, I give you my word. So maybe the next 12, 13, 18 months, I will do kind of a side hustle, but I have a 40-hour week here. I'm committed to my contract, so I will do it everything in my spare time. I just need to sign off that I'm allowed to create a brand and something like that. So he gave me the okay, and then the next week I went online, and then I said, well, if I want to do sportswear, and then I did the research about the market, and we all know that, right? There's some big players, the big sportswear brands. So what can I do differently? That was the question I asked myself. And I went on to Kickstarter and I searched for all the projects that did a really successful funding on Kickstarter in the sportswear or fashion industry or fashion category. And I found this one project that did a jeans out of recycled plastic bottles. Another specialty about this jeans was that they used an anti-odor technology. And
Okay.
then I did a research about the technology. I found out it's a US-based company. I reached out to them, and the week later, I had my first conversation and talk with them. And so it turned out, maybe they will also be happy to partner with me in the sportswear field. So now we are using their technology as
Oh, wow.
the
That's pretty
cleanest
cool.
anti-odor technology.
How long did it take you to do the research and to get this kind of partnership with the technology?
I think it's like 3 to 4 months initially, because besides that, I also had to build and search for partner factories.
Hmm.
I quickly realized I can't do this by myself because I'm not a designer. I know nothing about fabrics. So I went onto a network here in Germany. They support startups and their ideas and internationalizations of startups. And in their portfolio, they had also a designer, or let's say kind of a list of different designers in my
Hmm.
area. And so I met my designer I'm working with since the start. She's Polish. She had contacts to Polish factories already. She has had to work with them for different projects. So we established the relationships to all our European partner factories through her. So it's kind of all then started happening real quick.
That's pretty cool. Was it difficult? Is she your co-founder?
No, unfortunately not. I
Okay.
tried to get her as well on board.
Uh-huh.
It's tricky, everyone is a different person and has
Yes.
different goals, and not everyone is a founder. I also had to learn this
Yeah.
myself. So
Exactly.
she values security and this kind of things,
Okay.
which are more
And do you
important.
have and do you have any co-founders or you are alone?
I'm alone, but I already had 3 talks the last 3 weeks, and
Okay.
there might be a potential that I get a co-founder very soon.
That's pretty cool. So basically, kind of did your research, you found a partner, you had this vision, and then you found people who can work together to get closer to the vision, right?
Exactly. And also now, the designer, her name is Monica, and we quickly, in our first meeting, we sat together. I told her, well, if we want to do something together, my opinion is, after all the research I did, it has to be something different than anything which is out there in the market for sportswear. So we have to come up with a very sustainable product, but sustainability alone is not a USP any longer. For me,
Mm-hmm.
this is a basis, right? If I do a startup today and if I found in this textile or fashion industry, so for me, it's a given, it's a basis, and then we have to get something really new into the market, like this anti-odor technology, and then we have to onboard all our factories and partners using this technology, applying this technology, and she was immediately on board.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, the vision formed, her designs formed on paper. We made the first prototypes, and then, yeah, it
Okay.
all started.
And when did you leave your corporate job? So you told to your boss that you might need 12 to 18 months to roll it out. How long
So
it took you?
it took me 24 months. So I still stayed in the
24.
company for another 24 months. And then it got more and more. And so now, 2 years ago, I did the cut and did
Ah,
the
cool.
jump. So now I'm not affiliated with them anymore, and I do this startup full time.
Cool. How did that feel?
Exciting, scary, uh, like a mix of feelings, really.
And why do you think you had enough inner power to make this decision?
What helps is when you have certain, I call them maybe pivotal points or moments in time where good things happen as a
Hmm.
founder, where you get kind of the appreciation of maybe the first testers or the first customers. And the way I did it is I did a crowdfunding campaign as well to launch the product into the market.
At the beginning, right?
Exactly, at the beginning. So when we did all the designs, they were all on paper. We did prototypes, the first small collection with the anti-odor technology. And then I learned from my research as a new brand. Well, basically, you can't call yourself brand because a brand is something which is recognized and realized by
Mhm.
people. And there's just a name out there, nobody knows you. So maybe to do a community building, you can start using Kickstarter. And that's what I did. So I found, or I created the Kickstarter page. The first campaign was in 2022, a very small one with 10,000
Okay.
euros in revenue. And that's how we grow. And that's what I meant with this pivotal or appreciation points, because I managed to get paying customers, for a product which was not yet on the market. And that was then the reason for me why I did jump and did have this, feeling I should do it now full time.
Okay. So the first Kickstarter campaign was 10,000 euros and you reached the goal, right?
Yeah.
I have a more like practical question because Kickstarter and all the different crowdfunding platforms were around for quite some time. I do remember the beginning of them, the peak, the people raising millions, but very often when it grew a lot, the performance marketing became the main way to kind of raise money, and there was no other way to actually go up on the charts. How was it in your case? How did you know how to run the crowd? How did you learn actually how to run the crowdfunding campaign? And did you have to use any performance marketing investments and so on?
Yeah, so now I'm now at this stage in time, I'm much more wiser and smarter when it comes to crowdfunding because I just have finished the second crowdfunding
Uh huh.
campaign. And the first one was I shouldn't say pain, but it's definitely true what you say. So I've learned very quickly that it's a business model in itself, the whole crowdfunding game. And you have to be ready to invest money, especially if you are a first time crowdfunder. So you don't have anything to build on, no community, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing is you have to have a killer product in your category. It has to be super innovative so that the product really nails it and that people are ready to give you the money for a product which not yet exists. The way I did it is I also learned from the best. So again, I did the research about the best funded or most funded Kickstarter campaigns. I reached out to the founders of these campaigns. I asked them, "Hey, can we have a chat? Do you have maybe 30 minutes? I want to hear how you did it. What was your success story?" And I had 4 or 5 of these talks, and I came back with a list of to-dos. This is how you should do it, right? You have to have a really great pre-launch campaign. You have to have a really great pre-sales funnel, a lead generation funnel. So the minute your campaign goes online, you have to have all these people lined up, and they have to be buying the product in the first 12 hours. So in order that the Kickstarter algorithm pushes your campaign and so on and so forth. So I think was one of the big advantages I had.
So you were able to actually do that with your first campaign already.
Yeah.
That's
It's
pretty
for the
cool.
first campaign, the funding took I think until I reached my goal, it took 3 days. For the last campaign now, for the second one, it took only 12 hours until we
Really?
reached.
How big the campaign did you have?
It's also really a nice surprise for me. So the second campaign now was 35,000 euros.
Mm-hmm.
And now with cross and upsell, I'm up to 45,000.
Cool. Congratulations. Nice move. So what's your USP? Why do people buy the product that is kind of, I don't know, now it's in the market, but it's still pretty new, and why you're that admirable now?
Yeah, I think what really helped it was that one sentence I already said just a few minutes ago. You
Yeah.
have to have a killer product. And with
Yes.
this
So why it's
product,
a killer product?
yeah, so it's this jacket here you saw. I was
Okay.
also wearing it when we first met in Lisbon.
Yeah.
It's I think it's a killer product. Of course, I have to say that as the founder and creator. So it's a merino wool jacket, but again, we tried to innovate it even more, not only the merino wool, but also combining it with the anti-odor technology from Fuse Technologies. So it's again, wear longer, wash less because it doesn't smell. And on top of it, I was able to form a partnership with YKK. You know, they are the biggest
Hmm.
zipper producers of the world, I guess. And we came up with the touch link. So this is a zipper puller, and inside that puller there's an NFC chip. And yeah, so when you tap your smartphone onto the puller, your NFC enabled smartphone, you get the whole digital experience. So we are able to advance a physical product into the digital world.
What's the digital experience from that?
You don't have to download any app. You don't have to create any accounts. It's browser based. So you get like a notification on your phone, you tap on it, and there's many things you can do. As a launch, we integrated, I think, 8 or 9 different things. So among them, there is tap and play. So you can store your Spotify playlists, your favorite
Mm.
ones. If you go for a run, you tap your touch link, it automatically then starts your Spotify playlist. The other thing which we are able to do is creating a digital product pass. So you tap it and then you get the whole supply chain from tier 1 to tier 4 of all the products which are integrated into this merino tech. Another one is you can store your data and you can authenticate yourself as the owner of this jacket. So when it gets lost, yeah, the finder gets an automated message. Hey, here's your jacket. I found it, etc.
How
pp.
how often do you lose your jacket?
Yeah. You know, I'm a person. I'm losing constantly different things. So
Me too. I lose at least one clothing thing a year. Like I don't know, one jacket, one dress. Once a year, I always lose something.
yeah.
So that would help for me for sure to track.
And you know, the good thing about this is also what helped me is I applied for a European grant for this project because it's a
Hmm.
collaboration with the knitwear factory, and we produce in Lithuania with the
Uh-huh.
Lithuanian knitwear factory. So we formed a European partnership, the knitwear factory, and me as a German startup. And there is a European program called Worth, and you can apply with innovative design ideas in the textile environment. And they had their second European call at the beginning of this year, and they really liked our project and supported it now with a 10,000 euro grant and an 8-month incubation program.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And as part of this program, we will be back to Milan. Now we will be at Milan Design Week in April and showcase this project and product.
Yeah. So it's quite funny, right? You reached out to me when you saw that I'm originally from Lithuania,
Yes,
because
that's
everywhere you could see that I'm Denmark, that's where I'm based, but my origin is from Lithuania. And that's where I'm calling you right now, actually, from. So how did the Lithuanian factory got into your radar? Was it through the program or you found through the network?
I found through my network. So it was this same network I found my designer with. As I said, they are specialized in helping startups for internationalization, and but that can also mean not going internationally into different markets to sell your product, but also finding international partners.
Hmm.
And for me, it was really clear from the start. I want to produce in Europe. I want to be different. I don't want to do anything overseas. I want to really know who my partners are. I want to be able to travel to them within 2 or 3 hours and see how the seamstresses are working. Yeah, and then there was this really cool guy I met. His name is Kurt, and he's Austrian, but he's married to Rita. Rita is Lithuanian,
Yeah,
and
it's a really Lithuanian name.
Rita is, yeah, the owner of the factory. Well, she's running it with her sister. So it's a family-run business. It's the biggest, I think, knitwear factory in Lithuania.
Okay.
I traveled to them. We explored. They showed me the factory, and then we explored opportunities because Rita is also a really cool person. She's designing stuff herself as well. And then we had this idea about, yeah, a knitwear jacket.
Okay, that's so cool. That's a nice story. So, how is it for a small startup to work with small kind of factories and kind of maintaining this European heritage? Is it difficult? Because a lot of people and wear designers goes outside Europe into the major factories. I don't know, China, Taiwan, Vietnam. They are really, really big in textile. How is it for you working right now in the EU with the smaller partners?
I think it's perfect for me. I think that model works really well because I'm so close to them. We are really well connected. And, I'm just like 2 hours away. If in case anything comes up or in case there is a roadblock, I can go there and help them and support them and vice versa. So I give you one example with the application of the anti-odor technology, in this jacket, we had issues. So typical founder story. I had to apply the technology. It's a water-based technology. It's 99% water and the rest is non-ionic silver and gold particles. And you can apply it in different ways, either on the garment or on the yarns. And we wanted to do it during the washing cycle because wool is pre-washed before it is knitted.
Mhm.
So we wanted to apply it in a washing machine, but then we did tests, and the tests showed that the concentration is too low in order to have an antibacterial effect. So the only opportunity we saw is me going over there and spraying every ready garment. So I went, I think in November last year, I went again to the factory and it took me one day to spray 300 jackets inside out and on both sides. And I did spray them. And then it was very interesting. All the factory workers, they were coming and looking at me. They were taking pictures because Rita told the factory workers, oh, there's this German startup guy coming and he's spraying gold and silver on our items. And they all wanted to see how that works. It's really cool.
That is so cool. Amazing. So, what's the landscape of the textile innovation and production in Europe? It's pretty new. For me, it's a pretty new field, actually. So, it's very interesting to hear. And for you, it was a new field as well. So, what's the landscape? Is it difficult to get into the
I
network?
think at first, yes, because for me it was difficult because I was not originally from the industry. I had no contacts there, I had no touch points. So if you don't know anything and don't know anyone in that industry, it's
Mm-hmm.
difficult. But then again, I think it's what you make out of it. It's how active you are in finding the right networks that support you, finding the right networks to connect with and right people to connect with. And then it's about this openness, like this Carlita factory, this openness of Rita's husband Kurt to talk to me about innovation, about what we can do to foster European craftsmanship. Um, so yes, actually, I think to answer your question, there is a lot of innovation happening, and it is driven by the small and medium enterprises in the textile industry in Europe. You don't always have to go overseas. Like, when I think about innovation now in the textile industry, Japan comes up very often. So
Mm-hmm.
working with smart textiles, with innovative materials. But this is also possible in Europe. You just have to be open and bring the right mindset onto the table.
Yeah. So you mentioned mindset. So founder's mindset. What does it take to be a successful founder? What do you think? What helped you actually to really, I don't know, kick off your founder's career? What would be the key characteristic?
I think the most important thing is to have this inner drive and this inner
Mm-hmm.
will and this vision and never lose sight of your vision. And it has to be so strong that you really can survive this roller coaster ride of being a founder. Because, as a founder, there is a really good day. The next day is a really bad day. The next day again is a really good day. And this cannot only be day, this can be hours. Right now is a really good hour. I'm enjoying our conversation.
Same.
But this morning I got a really bad message. So it's about getting into the right mindset and getting this resilience when something
Yeah,
bad happens. So yeah,
totally.
definitely. Therefore, you have to have this inner vision and inner drive inside something. I
Do
can't
you have
describe.
any, yeah, I agree with you. And do you have any mentors or people who are guiding in your entrepreneurial journey?
Yes. So when I started my career in a corporate world as part of the graduate program, I had a really good mentor. And now this mentor became a really good friend. He also now is not working for this company anymore, so we don't, have the clash of him being still in the company and me not being in the company. He became a good friend and also a life coach and life mentor.
Mm.
He used to be a former consultant at a big consultancy company. Now he's a professor as well. So he also had a different angle to life. So he had a tweak in life a few years ago where he said, well, I want to teach, I want to work with young people, I want to get their, inspiration. And so this is a really good match between us. And then there's really all the people I meet along the way. When I think they have an interesting story or have a really great knowledge I want to learn from, I always ask them, hey, do you want to be, let's say, my sparring partner for this and that topic?
Mhm.
So,
Okay, cool. Thanks for sharing. And when it comes to building a startup, how important do you think is the network part and the community part? At least like in your startup, right? Is the community important for you? Is it important for you to go to the tech events? That's where we met. Or
yeah,
why do you go to such events like Web Summit?
it's exactly what you say. It's because of the network, it's because of the uh, people you meet and you should be willing to meet. And there's I wouldn't not say clash, but every time I tell my family or I tell friends, hey, I'm traveling to Lisbon or I travel to Milan, obviously there's costs involved. And as a startup founder, you have to really watch really carefully your cash flow. And then I always get the answer, well, do you know how much this costs? Can you even afford it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you have to see it as a long-term commitment because networking and meeting new people isn't something where I would expect immediate returns tomorrow, right? I mean, when I met you, I don't know how long it was, I think in November, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not out and networking for the immediate return. I know, it's not something I can expect and I should never expect. So I see it as a long-term investment and it definitely will pay back finally
I
or
agree. I
eventually.
think, yeah, I totally agree. And I think when it comes to networking, it's very also important to understand that it's not about meeting people. It's not about just ask, ask, ask. First, we really need to think, what can we give? What's the connection?
Yes,
How can we help each other? And I had some interesting conversations before, like some of the people would say like, yeah, but don't you think that it's all like scam and everyone just tries to be nice to each other rather than just asking directly? I'm not sure. I think I disagree because at the end of the day, this whole ecosystem is about relationship building and
exactly.
first about really caring rather than asking for the direct benefit. Because then if you need direct benefit, you go to a very clear sales conference where everyone are there just to make business and sell rather
Yeah.
than kind of build the connections.
I
Nice.
think,
I
yeah, it
like,
should be about building an equal partnership, right? So
yeah.
what can I offer you and what can you offer me? Or even if you don't have to offer me anything. I'm
Mm.
also happy if you already inspired me with your story you have to tell or with an experience you made or you share an experience so I don't have to make the mistakes you maybe went through. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are many questions I hear from people who are in startups and who they want to expand their network to generate new leads. But one of the common questions I receive since I've been to many conferences and become this conference girl go to, how do I choose conferences? Which conference should I go? Which one should I skip? So how, Dominic, you're choosing your conferences to go?
Of course, I always think topic wise, does it make sense for a sportswear founder or sportswear brand in the innovative textile field to be there?
Mm.
And this is very interesting, this question, because I had a lot of people when I decided applying for the Alpha Startup program of Web Summit.
Hmm.
What are you doing as a sportswear startup at Web Summit? I think
So
this is yeah, then maybe you should look at where the future of sportswear and fashion is going to, and this is this word phygital, right? Physical and
Uh-huh.
digital.
Yeah.
So it's the right conference to be there at this stage in time, even for a small sportswear startup, because the future is digital and we will merge physical and digital worlds. So I have to be there. I have to learn from the experts in digital and in IT and in the
Yeah.
transformation area. So to answer the question, topic wise, and then money also, of course, has a great influence. Sometimes I get invited for free, and then it's maybe an easier decision rather than spending 2 or 3 thousand for a ticket. So I really make sure that it's like this balanced set of different fields and different experts being there.
Was it your first web summit?
It was my second, and
Second.
the first one I had with the corporation I
Okay.
worked
How
for.
did you navigate, sorry for interrupting, how did you navigate through Web Summit as a founder? Did you try to book meetings or did you try to find some relevant people? Because it's super overwhelming. I mean,
It is.
can be so difficult to arrange one-on-one meetings.
It is very difficult. So the minute I made this profile on the Web Summit app, like the next morning, I already had like 10, 15 random people chatting and asking for a meeting. And it's like,
I'm
all
like,
right, okay, is this what I should do as well? Should I maybe book now, like 6, 7 weeks in advance? So I did that with some interesting profiles I saw on the app. I asked them, hey, can we meet for a coffee? So I had maybe 5 or 6 very interesting coffee chats.
hmm,
And then, as part of this Alpha Startup program, we also had one day where I had my booth in the startup area. And there I didn't book anything. So I just had people coming over and asking questions and got into talks. And then the third day, I think I used not for meetings, but for my personal inspiration. And I really looked what kind of talks I should maybe attend.
Okay, cool. And as a sportswear brand right now, how do you navigate and how do you get new clients? Are you like product-led growth, or are you kind of trying to work with other brands where you can be part of kind of collaboration? What's your business model?
So the business model started as direct to consumer e-commerce.
Mm-hmm.
So we sell via our own web shop. And I have a nice twist to it, which I always tell towards
Okay.
investors or if I have investor stories. So crowdfunding became a really important part of the whole business model for Portance because I saw how much beneficial it can be to build a community, especially, as I said before, for a brand which is not yet known.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this test and learn cycle, and we use this test and learn cycle. So every crowdfunding campaign we do, and we plan a crowdfunding campaign a year for the next 5 years to grow the community. And I want to use this as the test of the products, which then at a later stage
Hmm.
go to market in our web shop. So whatever works in crowdfunding, whatever feedback we get from our crowdfunding customers in regards to the products, I can test and learn and maybe improve the product and then release it in the web shop.
Okay.
So crowdfunding is a vital part of getting customers because I also see that these are very loyal customers. We have a returning customer rate of more than 70%.
Oh, that's a good number.
And they also return in the web shop. We have cases where Australians or Americans order products in a German web shop, and then they are willing to pay the high shipping fees and the import taxes. And this is a really strong case for me. This shows that the product is working and that I managed to build the customers. We really struggle with finding clients, new clients or customers with the pure online shop model. And that's why I want to expand into local retailers as well. So I
Okay.
still think that's one learning. It's still fashion. It has to lie somewhere. People have to touch it. They have to feel it. So this is a way to explore potential collaborations with smaller,
Hmm.
maybe outdoor wear retailers, sportswear retailers.
How do you communicate with your community? Because we mentioned, okay, community, and Kickstarter. What are the actions to actually keep the relationship? because it's always on the high level. It's very easy to have it. Oh, we just have this community. Oh, we have some people have it on Facebook groups. Some people do use Circle. Some people send weekly newsletters. How are you doing that? How are you keeping that relationship?
So it starts on the Kickstarter platform,
Yeah.
where a lot of people ask you all the questions about the product. Uh, and very interesting finding also, it continues even after the product is delivered on the Kickstarter platform.
Okay.
So, for example, we didn't ask our community actively to post reviews. They started it themselves on the Kickstarter page. So once they received our product, they say, I received it, it's amazing, blah. And uh, then we try, obviously, to funnel or to make them go through our own channels. So to make them sign up for our newsletters where we tell our stories or where we bring up new products. We try to involve them in new product creation. So maybe every 2 or 3 months when we plan to release new products, we actively ask in our newsletter, do you like this color? Do you like this logo? Do you like this material? So really keeping them involved rather than just sending out a blast with, hey, here's another sale or whatever.
Cool. That's pretty cool. So one more question regarding your startup, Portance. Why Portance? How did you come up with this name?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So it's French. It's actually
French.
portance.
Okay. Oh, Portance. Okay, okay. I don't speak French, so now I'll know how to pronounce. Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay,
portance.
Portance. Uh-huh.
That was one differentiator we thought should be good together with a friend. He's an expert in marketing, and he said every startup, maybe okay, not everyone, but 90% come up with an English name or with an abbreviation. So why not do something differently, especially if your product is differentiated? So let's do French. And then we looked at the product and what the product can do. And portance is the French word for uplift. So it's the physical principle that makes a plane or a bird fly. And it happens
Oh,
automatically, right? So a plane is taking off. Portance happens automatically when it has the right speed. So it lifts off automatically. And this is exactly what happens with our workout wear. You lift off. You don't have to think about all the distractions. Our designs are very smart. They are very thought through. You don't have to take care about the bad smell. You have to wash less. You save time. You save water. You save energy. You do good for the planet. You buy better. So it's that lift off, that elevation.
so basically, I was pronouncing your company name wrong the whole podcast, but it's
But
okay. Now we
that
know
is
how.
okay because obviously you do some maybe they don't, but we did ask around 100 people. We showed them the word. Can you pronounce this, please? And 90% pronounce it portance. So we are aware, and I'm aware that a lot of people will pronounce it English, and that's not a bad thing because even
It's
I
like it's
think
fun.
portance has something. It's fluid, it's quick, it's
Yeah. Okay, nice. I love it. So we're getting closer to the end of the podcast. I have one more question for you regarding your founder's mindset and your maybe kind of harmony in life. So, how does your day look like as a founder? And are you able to keep kind of balance, harmony in your daily life?
Uh, more or less. Sometimes I'm really able to do this quite good. Um, and then there are days which are terrible and I don't manage to be in balance. So I obviously use my workouts and my sports to get a rest from all the things that are happening in the startup and to just get my head into different thoughts. But also I noticed that even during sports, for example, if I'm on a treadmill, new ideas start floating, which I haven't thought about it. And then my family. So I have a small nephew, he's 3 years old. I have a small niece, she's 9 months old.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
and that, this is such a different world and it's such a welcoming, warm family feeling. So this weekend I will travel home and visit them because they live 3 hours away. But then it's just switch off, play with the kids and learn from them and get really exciting. And yeah. This is how I keep
Awesome.
balance.
This is great. So, final question. We have this tradition here in the podcast to ask a question for the audience that we can ponder through going through the day. Something, I don't know. Is there anything you would like to ask, leave a question for the audience that could be like, I don't know, inspiring or some food for thought about entrepreneurship or some life philosophy, maybe advice?
Yeah, there is one thing, I in on LinkedIn, I'm quite active, and this whole entrepreneurial journey in the fashion and in the sportswear industry made me really think about consumerism and how consumerism in today's world determines our emotions, how we feel, how we react to certain things. So my question, I think, to the audience would be, or my advice, uh, we all have power in our consumerism and in our buying behavior. So I would ask, please be aware the next time you buy maybe the shirt that costs 10 euros or 15 euros, who actually pays the price for this shirt. And if you really need this shirt for 10 euros, yeah, this is just the final,
Mm,
maybe
to
food
think
for
who pays
thought
the
and
price.
advice. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much. So, Dominic, where people can follow your journey?
Yeah, on all the social media channels, we are at portance.de on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, portance on LinkedIn, and of course the website portance.de, which is also available in English, by the way,
Oh,
because
cool.
as I said, because of crowdfunding, we have a very international audience. So even if you don't speak German, you will get an email in English.
Sehr gut.
Yeah, see,
so,
you speak
so,
German.
Nine. So, thank you, Dominic, for sharing your incredible story, for joining us today at Perception Paradox. It was really inspiring, and it was
Well,
great to
thank you.
know more about your transition and the whole startup building journey. And I guess thank you for all the listeners for tuning in today for another episode of Perception Paradox. So stay inspired, stay curious, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Until then, take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Shivali.